Welcome back to the Risky Business with Shireen podcast. In this week's episode, we'll pick up where we left off last week on the topic of risky by design, Black women navigating power structures in white spaces. The discussion this week amongst my panelists and I is centered on shifting from survival toward strategy, legacy, and change. All right, welcome back to the Risky Business with Shireen podcast. This conversation is part two of the conversation we had last week, and we're continuing that with our guests, Shiloh and Sai. No need for the formalities this time. You know who they are. You've heard them speak. And I'm excited to continue the dialogue with you around this topic of risk by design, right? Being a Black woman navigating your spaces and institutions to do your job. So one of the ways I want to kick off this conversation this time is what strategies or what practices have you used to protect your peace, protect your health, protect who you are in those spaces, right? We see a lot about the other end of the spectrum when people have breakdowns, they're exhausted, they are fatigued, and they're just not well. How have you, or what have you done to ensure that you prioritize your health physically and mentally and protect your peace while you're working in these spaces?
I'll go first. I utilize that PTO. Oh, I'm going to take my PTO. That's part of my compensation. I'm going to use it. I'm going to utilize it. I in the past would be like feel so bad. Oh, I have all these things, these cases or whatever I'm working on. I really shouldn't take off. Maybe I'll just do half a day. And it's like, nope, the world's not going to go on fire and end if I don't finish this one thing. So I'm utilizing the time that I'm given as part of my compensation. And also, I think, I mean, it sounds silly, but like I love working from home. That's been a blessing. If there was anything, I don't think COVID was great. It was terrible. But if there was any little silver lining I could take from it, it was working from home. It has its challenges, but it's been such a blessing for me. I get to take walks on my lunch and just that 20-30 minute walk I take changes everything.
Yeah.
Getting outside, you know, I'm walking around my neighborhood. I never got to do that when I worked in an office. It was drive to work or take the train and come home. And I'm like, oh, this isn't my neighborhood. So being able to take walks and I'm a praying person, so that's been a really that's helped me protect my peace. And I'm a big advocate for it, not ashamed of it. Good old therapy.
Hey, hey.
It has been part of my arsenal of self-care and things. It's a huge part.
Yeah, self-care looks different for everyone. And I do think, particularly in our community, mental health and mental awareness is sometimes stigmatized. And so I always say a lot of times treat people like you want to be treated, but also be aware that you're interacting with people who may be dealing with things that are not even treated. So yeah, I'm glad because that's how you're keeping your peace.
True.
Yeah. How about you, Sai? And how do you protect your peace? And I know with entrepreneurship, it is your company, right? Like this is my thing. So I need to make sure that it goes right, right? And it has to be the way I need it to be. How do you protect your peace managing motherhood, being a wife, and running your own business?
I protect my peace by having proper delegation in place, and not trying to be the perfectionist and the do-it-all person. That was the first thing that I had to learn. I didn't have to prove anymore that I could do it all.
Right.
That was creating a lot of lack of peace. So delegation. I even have somebody sometimes come clean our house.
I love that.
Because I sometimes it's peaceful cleaning. I'll tell y'all, sometimes it's peaceful cleaning. Sometimes it's not peaceful because I have if you are in position of leadership, you have all the things no matter what. There's always all the things on your plate. And so cleaning a house is about 7 hours if you're doing it right. Like where my mother, you go get the baseboards and all that. If you're doing that, that's not peaceful when you have a bunch of other things you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So proper delegation. Also, I do sauna, I do cryotherapy, I do leg compression, I go walking, I work out, and I also have been a clearer communicator. What we allow is what will continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
lady, she just gave you for free. She gave you all the advice of how she looks amazing after being married 21 years and a mom of 4 and a business owner, a successful business owner. that was her regimen on how she keeps herself together. You see, she looks amazing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
for me, I think at this point in my life, I think boundaries, firm boundaries of what I will not allow, particularly in the
Yes.
corporate setting, and then more so in my entrepreneurial journey is prioritization. Right, everything can't be a fire. Right, some things have to be,
Yeah.
to put it can't be everything can't be a five. We cannot
Mhm.
have a 5 alarm fire every time. So figuring out what needs to be done, what can be delegated, what can be, divide and conquer. But more importantly, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said about calling someone to clean. I'm blessed that I have the resources to do that. I outsource my life in any way that I can, right? So one of the things from COVID that worked for me is I learned to trust the people to go buy my groceries, like with
Yeah.
Instacart. So I delegated
Absolutely.
back to them. And
Mhm.
I think about the time I saved from going to the market, coming back
Right.
home, and so
Mhm.
while I wait for him to deliver, I can do other things that I want to put
Mhm.
my time for. If someone comes and cleans my house, that's 3 or 4 hours that I can get back to do things, other things.
Love
And again,
that.
I know that I'm blessed. That's not everybody's story, but the things
Mhm.
that I've done is prioritization, boundaries, firm boundaries, as well
Mhm.
as delegation, right? And again, that doesn't be me delegating to a subordinate. That's just delegating and outsourcing things to other people, gig
Mhm.
workers, right? We moved into this office space. It's like so much furniture had to be put together. I
Mhm.
would rather not spend 10 hours building something for my kid and hire a task rabbit for that. Right. So
Right.
those are the ways in which I have been able to protect my peace. Will I say I'm balanced? No. But I
Right.
understand how far to go before I let the scales get to the point where I'm on
Yeah.
the unhealthy side of that. Right. So
Mhm.
that's my
Absolutely.
secret. I know the girls always ask me, the younger girls, like, what do you do for your skin? I'm like, ladies, it's a regimen, it's a routine, and more importantly, I sleep. Because you don't get up in the morning looking like this, despite what Beyonce tells you. So being consistent with your skincare and your health and those kind of things, especially when you get older, right? It seems like everything, the machine that is your body goes wrong. Like do this, this, and this. Is like no wonder. I don't feel like I did in my 20s and my 30s. But again, prioritizing me, physical and mental health, mental a lot more as of late, as I'm dealing with things. But having the tools in place to know when to do and what not to do has worked well for me, and it continues to do so.
Yeah.
One other thing I had to do in the beginning was I would do 1 day retreats. And
Mm,
that's when the money wasn't like all that, because you have ebbs and flows sometimes in the beginning. And so what I would do is I had to get away with something. My mentor said, it doesn't matter if you have all the resources, get away. Just get away
yeah,
from your normal environment. I would go
Right.
to Expedia, one of those places. 56, you can search and it says 3.5 stars, but you can't see what the hotel is, right? Right
yeah,
around my area where I live. So it wasn't too far, but right around where I live. $56. I got to stay there, 3-star, 4-star hotel, and get away and just write or just get away from my environment.
I
That brought
love
so much
that.
peace. It brought so much.
That's
It
so
had to be
good.
right around the corner from my house, but it just brought me so much more peace. I could get back to
That's
myself.
good.
Yep.
I like that.
I love
I'm
it.
using. I'm feeling
I
that one.
love
I'm
that for
writing
you.
that one down.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna add that to my list. That has to be my list of like
Yes,
prioritization.
I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, because I always say people say like self care, and I know it's like an overrated term, particularly in social media. But I always say self care looks different for everyone, right? What you do
Mhm.
for you may not work for me, but as long as it's giving you the peace and
Yep.
protecting that, do it, right? Some women say, I go to the spa, I go shopping,
Mhm.
whatever it makes sense for you to feel refreshed, and have that respite to be able to come back to what the normal is and take it on, right? Because worst thing you can do is take a vacation, come back, and everything all hell breaks loose again. It's like, well, that was the point of me leaving.
Right.
And I think it goes back to Sai's point about having the structure in her organization that she is comfortable delegating to people. Like I always say in corporate America, like, why are you calling me? Like, if the building burns down, what can I do? Right? I'm not
Mhm.
the CEO. I don't own this joint. Right? You can't have me calling me on standby. But when it's yours, you
Mhm.
are the person who needs to be like the one. So I'm glad that she mentioned having the right structures and the right people around her and her business and her ecosystem. It's her
Mhm.
ecosystem. So she literally
Right.
has the autonomy to hire the right people and confident in that the people are going to do what she needs to do when she's not there. And I think that's great in terms of a leader in general, because a lot of times,
Mhm.
more times than not, particularly in this time, you see a lot of people who are just micromanagers, helicopter people. And I think that's just a residual of you hired the wrong person. Like I hired adults, people who know how
Mhm.
to do. I'm confident they can do it. I like people who are smarter than me. By the way,
Right.
um,
Absolutely.
that's my pro tip. Hire people who are smarter than you.
Yes.
Be open minded, have a growth mindset. Be willing to learn. For me, we worked with a younger person for the first part of like getting our content journey off the ground, and she was super young, but she had great ideas.
Mhm.
She was patient with us, and then it became the other way. Like she was learning from us, like how to build a business, how to generate. So it was like a twofold relationship, and I love that. And so for me, I would say hire if you can hire people that are smarter than you, Hire adults that you don't have to check them and what they're doing. Because I don't care when you get it done. If the deadline is Friday, you can deliver it at 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, as long as it's done. I think we just live in this world where people are literally fighting for their lives, particularly in middle management, to save their role. But I don't think micromanagement and helicoptering is the way to go. So thank you, Sai, for really, really giving transparency into what it's like to be able to have that confidence to leave your business in someone else's hands. And I think that goes back to your hiring practices.
Thank you.
Yeah. Here's another good one. How do you make the decision of when to speak up and just when to walk away? Like things in your work daily. Like I know the answer to that, but you know what? Not today. Like I'm just not gonna go around. I need to say it. Like I just can't hold it in. Like, have you had that experience, and what does that look like for you? For me, I'm the latter now. I just keep it to myself because it's been so many years of knowing the answer, putting it out there, and then ultimately the decision makers choose to go the other way. I'll give you a great example. Like you're in compliance, right? People aren't complying with things, and it's like, okay, well, we'll just pay the fine. Great. So if that's the culture you want to take, and the mindset, what I do and what I offer is no value here because you're going to do what you want to do anyway, right? You're just going to pay your way out of it. Meanwhile, my job is to help you prevent those things, right, from happening. You've already made up your mind that you're going to incur the cost. So for me, it's just like, I'll be quiet. Why do I need to waste my energy? Like, I know I'm smart, because if you keep giving them the answer, that's when that psychological safety comes in again. It's like, well, we don't need your answer because we've told you already. It's our company, right? And I think that goes back to Sai being an entrepreneur and owning her own thing. Yes, she may hire somebody for decision making and recommendations, but at the end of the day, she is the decision maker. You don't have that luxury to have that proximity to the decision makers in corporate America unless you're in the C-suite.
I think for me, I guess it's kind of like you said, like if it's not, I don't know. I can't say I've had a lot of those experiences where like I have to choose to speak up or not. But in the few times that I've had and I've chose not to, I didn't lose sleep at night. For me, it's one of those ones where it's like, if it's kind of eating at me, like that's how I know I have to speak up about a thing because it won't leave. It's like I try to let it go, it won't leave, it's staying with me, then I have to say something regardless. But most of the time,
I just say it's not my company. It's not my company.
I mean, at the end of the day, like that's really the mindset I have to take. Like I have no stock here, and at the drop of a dime, you can let me go, and in an hour, you're going to post my position.
Yeah. You died
So
in your office all weekend, like that little lady who worked for the consulting firm in New York. She died like the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. They didn't come back to find her. And then her job was on board like Wednesday. It's transactional. I'm not even surprised by it because it's a transactional relationship. So if you're honest with yourself about upfront about what you're doing, what you're getting into, I think that goes a long way, particularly when you get further along in your career. Your soft skills are more important than your hard skills. They know you can do what you can do. It's the soft skills piece. Like, how do you navigate that? And I think for me and other women who are similarly situated at this point, where you're at that juncture between corporate and your own, it's like, do I want to continue to run the rat race for what? There's no value in it for me. It's draining, and it takes time and energy I could have to put towards other things, my family, my social life. Let them people have it. It's not my company. That's how I feel about that, right? I know Sai's in a completely different bucket, but I believe in just listening to her this evening about her approaches, how she runs her business, her systems, her practices. I believe she has a system set up where people can come to her and say the things that need to be said in a safe environment and not fear retribution or dismissiveness and things like that. So I think that's always a great lens to look at. Again, understanding entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but take the free game you can get today from this woman who is sharing her successes, her highs, and her lows with us.
Thank you. I would say my grandma told me empty wagons make a lot of noise. And I had to learn that I don't have to make a lot of noise.
Say it again.
Empty wagons make a lot of noise.
Empty wagons make a lot of noise. Now, go ahead. I went through the narrative on that because that's very powerful.
Right. And if you sit in a room, you watch the person that's just like that. Whenever something riles them up, they've just got to get it out. And then you could tell it's not all working up here. Like they could have taken a day to let it connect at least. Like let's see if of all those thoughts are there tomorrow. And do they sound like that tomorrow? Right now it sounds like a bunch of gibberish, like all the marbles ain't working, But when we're angry, when we speak out of anger or frustration or our rightness, like I know I'm right. And you could be really right. But in that moment, it's very wrong to even voice that. There's a lot of power in silence. I've learned there's a lot of power in silence. There have been times where I wanted to really say something and I had to like yield to a 24-hour window.
Yeah.
And ask and ask for discernment. I'm just put that I ask for discernment because sometimes there's a time to say exactly what you're thinking, and then you will have the backing that you need supernaturally. On the other side of there, you have not used your discernment. This was not the time, or you needed to give it some time. So I like to have discernment and just pause and just really evaluate what's going on. There's a lot of peace in that pause. And then if I need to speak, it's going to be with the least amount of words as possible.
Yeah.
That's extremely powerful. I had the producer out there going, See what you're saying. I think, again, you're spot on. And I think when you talk about discernment, I think I also equate that to emotional regulation. I think the further along you are, especially in leadership, having emotional regulation is literally one of the non-negotiables. And I think we see it so much, like men, particularly white men in power, that are, the overseer or the authority for these big multinational corporations, like they have no emotional regulation. Like they're just, sometimes acting behavior is childish, narcissistic. It's like, it's okay to, have emotional regulation and leave things on the table. And silence is, respite, and no is a complete sentence, but it's just a lack of emotional regulation I see day to day in my own space. But also I see a lot, like every morning I get up, I'm a risk nerd, so I read all the periodicals right in the morning to get a handle on today. I see the journal, the Washington, I read everything. First thing in the morning, I go through the headlines, Financial Times, everything. Like, could have been avoided, could have been avoided, could have been, because literally, and I think a lot of that's a testament to your point, knowing when to speak up, and if there's value in you speaking up or taking back. A lot of times people are in these environments, they're not safe, so they don't speak up at all. Case in point, look, years ago now, but Silicon Valley Bank, the risk manager told them this was happening. It's here, get out of here. We're not listening to you. They fired her. And then what happened, right? And so for her, she was going to go back again. Why would she speak up? You told me to go away when I'm telling you, it's your company, right? That's how I imagine she said it. Like, it's your company. So I think the emotional regulation, we talk about EQ versus, IQ versus SQ, all those things. But I think for me, again, further along your career, your soft skills lead you. It's not the technical. So to your point, Sai, about being able to navigate that, knowing when to take a step back and knowing when to say it or leave it on the table, I think those are huge in terms of business, just business in general.
Right.
I think it's
relationships too.
I'm sorry.
Relationships too. Overall relationships too.
Yeah. Preserving them, by the way.
Preserving them. These jobs are all valuable. I feel like just to your life.
Just
feel like life in general, just how you live your life. Those are really, really powerful things to kind of just utilize in everyday life. So thank you for sharing. I'm so grateful.
This one is a question that is near and dear to my heart. So it is, what do you owe and not owe the younger version of yourself that you would share with your peers or those coming behind you? So what is that thing, that you either owe or you don't owe to your younger self? I can go first because I was thinking about this earlier when I was going over the question set. I was like, oh, this is so good. I love this story because I would tell my 20-something self, know who you are, stand in who you are, and let that be your anchor as you're navigating your professional life. Because I look back on my professional life and I see all the times that I restricted myself. I toned it down at the behest of a man or someone in power to make them feel comfortable. And I would say at this point, I would never do that, right? But I wish that the girl who was 20, 21, fresh out of college would have had that same confidence and awareness of who she was, but more importantly, how to use it, right? We talk about how people weaponize their insecurities. I think there's a fine line between weaponizing, your confidence and your capabilities. But I would literally tell her, it's okay to be who you are and stand in it and walk in it, but also be aware that there's certain situations, like Sai said, where you may have to walk away or leave it on the burner. But it didn't hit me till like my 30s when I realized, like, it's not your job to make someone else feel comfortable. As long as you're maintaining your professionalism, you're meeting expectations, and doing your job, it's not your job to make the other people in the office feel secure around you. And I wish I would have stopped wasting so much time doing that in my career. because I had a lot of years to catch up. And that's what I tell the young ladies that I mentor now. Like, don't let these people rob you of who you are, steal your joy, and take away from you. If they tell you your light is too bright, tell them to get sunglasses. Because the moment you start getting your light down, it becomes like a cyclical trend. And it's so easy to do that opposed to walking back into your heart. And I'll leave it at this. When I had opportunity to come out of dimming my light and going back to shining my light, it was a very hard thing to switch back on. Literally, because for like 3 years, I was like strictly myself. And then I got into an environment, I was like, that's what we hire you for. Like, give us the idea, do other things. It's like, oh, it was like trauma. I had to figure out how to get that back on track for me. So I wish that on no young female, particularly Black women navigating spaces of business.
Yeah, that's great. I think mine is similar to yours, but I would probably say to my 20-something-year-old self, you were enough, you are enough, you'll always be enough.
Mm.
I think I owed that a lot to my younger self. I think in addition to that, you were talking about confidence, the confidence. She did not get a lot of that. She deserved it. She didn't think she deserved it. But I would tell her that, and I would tell that to any young woman that I actually, there's a girl that I met on LinkedIn, who she's in compliance, and she called me her mentor. And I'll be so honest with you, and she's probably gonna watch this. So hey, Cheyenne. But it felt weird at first. It did. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, she called me her mentor. And I almost didn't feel deserving of it. And then I kind of had to check myself. And I'm like, no, you're doing the things that other people have done for you. You're giving her all the, all the knowledge and the things that I've learned in my 41 years so far. And I don't take her calling me that lightly. That wasn't, I felt so honored that she called me her mentor. So I would say I owe my younger self, just reminding her like you were always enough.
Yeah.
Even when people told you weren't, you always were enough. And I kind of take that now. And in addition to like the confidence thing. So
yeah.
I think I would tell my younger self to not close doors that were opened for me. Partially close them or close them. And don't open doors that were closed for me. And then on the other side of that, I would say also that let my yeses, the ones that I wanted to say yes to, but I was scared to say yes to, be bolder with my yeses and be even bolder with my no's. Like be real bold on my no's. Like don't let it be a no but yes. I had too many no's but yeses in the beginning of my
yeah.
And I would tell her to stop doing
that. Yes. No pun intended, but yes. I think no is just a complete sentence, just in my how I operate. But I also think that I look back at the 20-year version of myself, and I think about probably childhood trauma that went untamed or untapped, where you may have been exposed to things or told different things just culturally. And then for me, like being first generation college, right? So no one in my family could tell me what that was going to be like for me. So I took that on for the first time, navigating, a predominantly white institution, not knowing how to navigate it. So I learned on the go. I think the downside could be, I've seen this a lot from Black women, honestly, on other Black women. There was like a chat about this a few months ago amongst nurses, how when they go to nursing school, particularly like HBCUs, the Black structures, the female structures, basically try to make them have the same bad experience they had, 50 years ago, how they were treated. So basically, I had to go through it, so now you have to go through it. I don't want to live my life like that. And I think that's a horrible experience to have. You went through it great. You walk so I could crawl so I could walk, but I shouldn't have to endure that same experience just because you have.
Exactly.
I identify very strongly with your first generation college and all those experiences that come along with that, because there's like no one's there. They're just like, yay, she graduated. My baby's in college. And you're like, and now I'm here. Right. And I remember one thing that I would say, most people say you should live life with no regrets. Right. But I do have one regret. and that is this, because I just don't know. Those doors where I closed, that it might have been the door God wanted me to go into, and I closed it because I was unsure.
Right.
And that is this: I got a scholarship into Princeton.
Princeton
Wow.
University.
Princeton University.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
believe
I graduated top of my class, 4.6 GPA. I got a scholarship into Princeton. And I had 22 scholarships, just to be honest. So,
wow.
yes. And then in my decision making process, because I had no parents helping me make this decision, my most educated decision was, okay, so I think I'm going to be a doctor. So maybe I'll go to Baylor, maybe I'll go to this place, that place. I can't go to Princeton because I didn't grow up like those people. Once I get in there, I won't be able to have access like those people. They're going to be going on vacations, and I won't be able. I've never had a vacation like those people. Well, what are the books? I feared myself up so bad. In some ways, they were actually legit. They were legitimate thoughts, though. Like those fears were legitimate thoughts. If you came from a broke home where it was your first generation, right? And you're going into that environment where these people have been groomed. Like my son now, he goes to LaSalle College High. He's being groomed for college. Like he's being groomed. He goes to school at 5 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't get back to 6. He's being groomed. They're being reared. Those kids go to Princeton, right? I was at a predominantly Black high school, right? And I went to college while high school, but I still didn't feel qualified. And so that door that I closed could have been so many other relationships, opportunities, networks, etc. on that side. But I was like, this one is not for me because I'm not good enough on that other side.
Yeah. And I'll say this to you for your younger self. I understand that's a regret of yours, but I think the universe has figured out a way to give you exactly what you were supposed to have full circle. So even though you didn't get to take that opportunity there, I think based on just learning you today, I think the universe is working in your favor and brought you exactly where you're supposed to be at this very moment. Yeah.
Thank you.
I do. I think about that when it was our first gen college. I think what was more challenging than being first gen is by the time I was 16, I had lost both of my parents. And so I had a sister who was 6 years younger than me. So when my mom was still living, she was very ill. So I became the mother, like de facto in the household. And then when she passed on, I felt this as if I have to be here for my sister. So while I applied to all these universities across the country and got accepted, I had to make the very, very hard decision of staying local because I wanted to be close to my sister to make sure she still had what she needed. So I went to Temple. And not because Temple is like, second round fish, but I feel like if I didn't have that dynamic, I may have been over to go to like the other side of the country and go to a UCLA or something like that. Even though I got accepted, I couldn't go because I felt my obligation was to be here. And what I would say about that experience is I had to grow up really fast. I had to be extremely independent. And I found in my navigation through school and just life, my 20s, first thing is I had to work full time and go to school full time. So I would work during the day, work a full time job, and I would go take all my classes at Temple at night. That is not easy for anybody, right? But even more so, I didn't have a system around me, right? So not only am I first gen, but I didn't have that structure around me to say this is what it's going to be like. I had to learn this stuff on the fly. I literally had to learn as I went. You want to eat, get a job, right? You have bills to pay, get a job. Well, I have to take all this course and I get a job because you'll get there. And I think because I was learning on the job, if you will, I think out of that, like graduate school, I just had this mindset that it does, I can do it. There's nothing I can do. But I think when I got to corporate America, some of that was chipped away at because I had to bring myself to those environments. Like I was doing it all. Like I did everything by myself. I can do this. I'm great at it. And then when you get there, it's like, well, maybe your grade isn't good enough. And so I think like my initial experience in corporate was that way for me because of like what I came through to get there. So it was not an easy journey. And then I was crazy enough to go back to school for 3 more degrees. But at that point I was seasoned. I knew what to do, not to do. It was hard, right? Being first generation, not having parents, having a financial education, also look for a sibling who's younger than you, make sure they're okay, and maintain your course load and your job full time. It was a lot. It was a lot. I don't wish that on any other person, a younger version of myself or anyone else, but I got through it. Do I want them to have gone through it? No. So what I mean by that is I don't need to put the bad experience I had, make the next person go through that because I had to endure it. I did that. I don't want to go do that because I don't want that for anyone. And I think that's a challenge sometimes when you have people in leadership. Well, I've had to do it, so do you. And it's like, it doesn't have to be the way. It really doesn't have to be. Yeah. I was going to ask you this. How do you mentor or advocate for other women or have agency for them without encouraging them to be survivalists, right? We also talk about people surviving. It's like, well, how do you empower them to thrive, right? Whether it's in a corporate structure, whether it's in academia. One is how do you find the ally? Because sometimes I'm very clear, all your skin folk are not your kin folk, right? Let's be very clear on that. But when you find people who are your kin folk and your skin folk, how do you have agency for them, particularly if they're younger on the spectrum to you, like you're in a position of leadership, they're not. How do you help them move away from this survivalist mentality that they are literally indoctrinated with to being like, you can thrive in this space? Like, do you guys have any experience with like mentoring somebody and making sure they see you because representation matters and teach them that it can be possible for them, do the work, etc. But do you have anybody or any experiences you had where you've been able to do that for someone?
I would say that whenever it came to mentorship or coaching anyone, they have to be the one that wants it. Okay.
Absolutely.
No matter how much you have a lot, you have a big heart, I can tell, Shreen, and you're ready to give. And you might be ready to mentor the heck out of a lot of people around you. You see all what's going on. You're like, I just want to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. And on the other side of that, if they're not receptive and open to what we're providing them mentorship wise, it doesn't matter. So they have to, like when someone's asking for mentorships, I have them call me. I won't call them. They have to call me. They have to show some initiative. If they don't call me, I'll call them once. Hey, I know you might have got busy. We're supposed to be talking today. Make sure you set a reminder and make sure you call me, but I give them something to do so that they can be bought in. But I just have to say that they have to be open first. A lot of times we want to give back and help, and then it's unfruitful. And it's exhausting mentally because on the other side of all this wanting to help this other give agency, they don't want it. They're stuck. They're stuck on whatever the story is, and they're not ready to get out of that story and get help. But when they are ready, we have to equip them we have to give them tools. We can't just we can't give them too much. We have to give them the things to do without making it too easy. I'll put it that way. So this course, I spoke to this person. I might even introduce them to somebody that I was introduced to. This is one of the books that I read. Here, come along, bring your notebook, stuff like that, where I'll bring them along the journey for certain things, a call that might be happening, a place that they can come with me, introduce them, make introductions. That's one of the things, like, why do people gatekeep introductions?
I don't know.
Make introductions. And just go like, hi, you're looking for, this person is boom. And you want to get to know these people. That's one of the biggest things you can do is make the right introductions and let it go.
Yeah. And you using your reputation. So people already know what you do. They believe in what you do. They respect what you do. So it's nothing for you to write for the right person to make that connection. I think a lot of times that gatekeeping, particularly in our community, it happens more than ever. Like, I'm fearful someone else gets to that. It's like, it's enough room for us all, right? And that's why I go back to saying earlier, I'm in the process of trying to set up that cooperative economics group. If I can't do it, this particular person trusts me. They know what I do. So they're going to take my word. This person is the right person. Make those connections. It's not about crabs in a barrel and someone else is going to get. Listen, when girls say they want to do this, I want to start a hairline. And some people will say, well, there's so many different ones out there. There are. And there's so many different consumers that have different preferences, different ways of purchasing, their means, income. Like, just do it, right? One of the things I learned from a mentor of mine was just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the version 10.0. Just start it. And as you go, use continuous improvement to get better, but just do it. And I think a lot of times we get in our own way by fine-tuning it to the point that we think it's perfect and you lose so much time. Just doing it, meaning go to market and figure it out as you go along. Now, I'm not saying go out here and build a tinker and stuff, an engineering thing and say go live. But when we're doing services and things that we're good at that are part of our skill set and our toolbox, just do it, right? Just get out there and do it. And you're spot on about, I have like a little litmus test for mentees. Like, I am not rolling over backwards for you. I always tell them, like, if I do speaking events, don't DM me on LinkedIn and ask me to be your mentor. That's not how you go about this. That's not how you ask for a mentor. And sometimes, to your point, I'm not the right one, but I will literally hand them off to someone else that I know is a better fit for them, and then let them make their own decision if they can take them on. But for me, don't DM me asking me about, I saw your hair, can you be a mentor? No. And I'm not even the right mentor for you. Sometimes I'll tell the young folk is, well, how do I do this? I said, have assertiveness, LinkedIn is a free repository. If you want to be a chief engineer, go look up the chief engineer at Google. If nothing
Mhm.
that narcissistic executives love more than is talk about themselves. They will take a coffee chat with you for 15 minutes to talk about themselves. At
Mhm.
least you get the exposure, you get the opportunity to know the highs and lows of that role. And it's just
Mhm.
things that they don't teach in college. Like they're just things that aren't part of the curriculum. How to network, how to navigate. I can't tell you how
Yeah.
many times I go to networking events. It grinds my gears. Networking events are for you to interact and network with other people you don't know. What I
Mhm.
see more than anything is people when they come with the people they're with and they cluster themselves. Like, you
Mhm.
know her. How is she going to generate business or connections for you? They don't know how to network. And again, those are things that are just not really taught well in institutions around the US, but these are things they're learning on the fly. So one of the things I'm about to kick off in a few weeks is that it's going to be like a residency where I teach people how to be college students in particular, how they make that transition from the classroom to the conference room, because that's not taught in the curriculum at college. Like, how do you make that shift? From academia and theory to practical real world, right? It's not just about what you know, it's who you know, how you apply that, how you navigate. We talked about this both episodes. A lot of corporate America is politics. A lot of it's politics and who you know and who said something about you. And they don't teach that very well in undergraduate school. So I'm hoping that getting out there on the road, pouring to the younger people about how you can do this right, it will go a long way. And again, like I tell you all the time, as much as they learn from me, I learn a ton from the young folk. I'm not one of the people resistant. I welcome, I love them. I think the millennials are like the conduit for Gen Z and corporate America now because no one else wants to deal with them. Like, I love them. They're like, they care about their mental health. They know boundaries. They know what they're not going to
They
tolerate.
do. They're
And
so good at it.
they weren't asking you to go to the concert on Friday. They were telling you they were going. And if you tell them they can't go, they're going to tell you you can find someone else to do that job on Friday. Why? Because they're smart enough. They have gig economy. They have all these other ways to make money. They have so many different, horizontals, for themselves. And so I love that from them. And I learn as much as I can from them. And I'm sure it's vice versa. So for me, that's very important, building on what Sai is saying. Take on the right people. If you can't hand them off, but make sure at first that they're showing the initiative, because I'm not going to chase you down for me to give you my brain. I call it knowledge vending. It costs money to get this,
Right.
right? So we don't get
Right.
that for free. If I'm willing to spend time with you, that's billable hours I can't get because I'm spending time on you. So act like you want it,
Right.
whether it's somebody else. So take it on. I heard Child saying she took on a mentee recently, but be very particular about who you take on, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and she's great. Like she is really bright, really, really she's younger. But she's really bright, she's quick, and I'm really grateful to have met her. And I guess to answer your question, one of the things it's so funny enough, she actually did do the DM. She messaged me on LinkedIn and said she's new to compliance. I just wanted to, she wanted to learn more about compliance, and I was like, yes. She's a young Black woman. I was like, and I felt led to do that. So we would meet. We met on, I think, I forget which platform we were on, but we just talked. I shared what I know. Um, and to your point, Shireen, I don't believe wisdom has an age. So I can learn things from people older than me, my age, and
Yes.
younger than me, and I have. And same with her. So I shared what I knew, and I still continue to do that. Funny enough, I referred her for my old job, and she got it, and I was so happy and so
Yes.
proud of her. And she's doing really well. So I think for me, when she, her making the initiative to contact me, which again, it was a, I guess, a learning thing for me too, because I felt, I was like, wow, she came to me. She doesn't even really know me, but she took a chance and she messaged me, and we still talk. So for me, it's just sharing everything I know. I know my experience. And I'm not one of those people like we were talking earlier, excuse me, where it's like, well, I had this crappy experience, so now you have to have this. It's like, hey, these are the things I experienced. This is something maybe you should look out for.
Mhm.
And if you do get this is how I wish I would have dealt with it or how I would have handled it. And maybe
Mhm.
this is something you can use if you come up against that.
Mhm.
Um, so I hope to take on more, to be honest with you, more mentees. I really enjoy this. I'm grateful that she reached out to me, and it's been a great experience, and I'm really proud of her.
I love that. Now just don't overextend yourself, okay?
No, no,
You know, the pipeline, your sometimes I had young ones, they'll say, you might, work out, they're a good fit. Well, my girlfriend, she needs to be, no, that doesn't work that way. It's not a referral service now. Wait a minute now. So just be,
Right.
mindful of that. One of the things I want to ask, and this is really important, inside, you can take a little from this based on the role you carry. What have you learned about building power, right? When in places where you were meant to be silent or not speak up, what have you learned about power, like the power you harness in yourself? How have you built up your confidence, aka your power,
Okay.
over time?
I personally did not build up my power. My power has come.
Really?
I'm just going to be really frank. I'm going to have to give it right here. I am a Christian, and I absolutely believe that my power comes from God. And so
Yeah.
before I speak, I ask God to give me the words. Okay. I ask Him to be in this situation. I prayed all night over this situation here, to be of service, to be able to have open ears to hear, like all those things, so that when I get into a space, I will feel more powerful because it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me. I've already asked and requested and prepared myself to get beyond myself. Hopefully
Yes.
that's okay to say here, and that doesn't ruffle any feathers.
Safe
But
space.
that's what I
No,
believe.
thank you for
That's
saying
Here
where
for
a lot of
you.
my power has come from,
No,
because
that's a great way to
by
put it,
myself,
though.
I'm not enough. By myself, I'm definitely not enough. And I literally have to reach out to, I need to get my power before I get into the room.
Yeah,
that.
that's a
That
great
is,
way. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a great way to put it. And for me, I agree. Like, the more I submit to God's will for me, the more things are going the way they need
there
to
you go.
go. So I
Yeah,
do know that. I also think that I've built my power by being fully aware and in tune to the environments I've been in. What I
mhm.
mean by that is I'm at the point now where playing humble is not going to work anymore. And
Right.
what I've learned over the years and sitting in the same room with people who are supposed to be similarly situated to me is that we're not. I'm better than them. I'm 150% better than them, but they got the promotion or they got this because they actually put themselves out there, whether it's a
Right.
personality hire or not. So now in my own space, I'm like, I'm getting these accounts because 99.9% of these people out here that claim to do what I do, they're hacks, right? I have this group where I have different people who are risk practitioners come together every few months, and we share ideas, exchange things, and I'll tell you. And he's not in the group anymore, but who cares? He was literally like put on LinkedIn that he was elevated as like the head of global risk management for this company, and then coming back to me asking me, do I have a copy of something basic like a risk register? And it's like, well, wait a minute, you the head of. Now, how the hell? I'm like, what the hell? And then for me, it's like, girl, you're better than them. Stop playing it safe. Stop playing it small. And I think just being in these rooms, conferences, networking events, and like, I'm better than her. I know I'm better than him. And again, I think playing it safe and being humble has hindered me. But I'm at the point now where I know I'm better. It's nothing. I know I'm better than you factually. So if you want the best, then come get the best. And again, understanding that I'm moving my purpose. It doesn't feel unnatural. It feels organic. Again, to your point, side about God is at the wheel here. But in walking in my
Mhm.
purpose, I know that I'm moving in the right direction. I don't feel any angst, any nervousness about what I'm doing because I know I'm moving where I need to be in the way in which He wants me to go. And also simultaneously being in service to others while I'm doing what I'm doing, right? So I hear you loud and clear. But I also think, in addition to God, I had to build that up. Like, because I would play it safe, like, oh, I'm okay. I'm a risk manager. Girl, you are a powerhouse. What do you mean you're just a risk manager? You are great at what you do. And if the person who's less than you can talk about themselves and get themselves promoted to the head of, then baby, you got to talk yourself up even more. So, and for me, to Side's point about going to those rooms, I can't just walk it. I better be able to talk it and deliver upon it as well. Because saying what you can do in an advertisement and actually executing, two different things. But once
Mhm.
you execute, one of the things I would say, pro tips for women in businesses, track your data and analytics. People like quantifiers. So if you've saved your company $1 million this year, like Side said, that's going to be tracked on my what I can do for you. I solutioned this company in a way where they save $20 million over 2 years. People care about that. Quantifiers and numbers are what stand out. And when you make those positive impacts for organization, whether you're an entrepreneur or working in corporate, take note of that, write that down because it matters. Those quantifiers matter to people who are listening and who are decision makers. But let's be serious. When you get in front of the board, you don't have 50 minutes. You have 5 minutes to grab their attention and get out. So you have to do that with impact. So that would be my advice. And that's my testament of how I've been able to build my confidence, but more importantly, how I'm moving in this world. So other risk managers, look out now. Because I'm right there, been for the same jobs as you. So that's me. And I don't know if Shiloh wants to add anything to that before we move on.
Yeah, I mean, well, amen to the both of you. Um, no, I mean, I agree. God at the center. But to your point, Shireen, I guess something I learned is that I have power. And I think for so long I didn't trust it. I didn't even think I had it. And what I'm learning is that I have it and that it is very powerful. And again, I love that you said this. It's not playing it safe or being humble, being so humble that it's to your detriment. Because I've done that too, where again, it's like the dimming of your light. It's the well. I mean, I can just remember it just in life, times where I robbed myself of experiences because I felt like I took up too much space. And I mean that like physically, I felt like I took up too much space. Um, and then thinking on it like, no, again, you're deserving too. So I think for me, uh, what I've learned about building power is that I have it. And
Yeah.
it's just as good as anybody else's. Um, and that I need to make sure when I wield that power, I'm wielding it for good. I'm wielding it not just for me, but for other people, the people behind me, the people in front of me, the people before me. So.
Thank you so far. You've been extremely, the conversation is just amazing. What I want to ask now is, inside, you probably have a bigger lenses to this based on you working with a diverse set of clients across sectors, right? What does real accountability look like? Like from white folk in leadership, right? You said predominantly, your portfolio is predominantly white ran companies. Like, what does real accountability look like in your experience? Like, they got it wrong, it didn't work out. Like, what does that accountability look like from your lens?
As the owner, you need to be quick to apologize and to accept when you have or may have gotten something wrong. And you are your company. So anybody under you, it's you. If something happened, I personally apologized. We will get this right. Let's figure this out. What have you? People want to know that they are heard and that that you're going to get it taken care of. And so accountability looks like I take ownership. First, looks like I take ownership. Then it's you're taking ownership too. Like now, if I'm holding you accountable, okay, we said we're going to have this deadline. Well, we sign off on that, right? So now we have we have it written. It wasn't just kind of like we said it in passing. You need to have things written and signed off on. You have to have a way of coming back to the table with reports to show data. You talked about data with reports. We said we were going to do this. Here's what we did. We got it right. We got it wrong. Here's what we're going to do next. That type of a thing. So accountability looks, and if somebody needs to be called out, you need to find a way to communicate that in the best way possible, depending on who they are. Everybody gets a chance to be accountable in my life. I put it that way. Yeah. I don't care who it could be, the pastor, it could be, everybody gets a chance to be accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is real life that we're dealing with here. And so we have to make sure that we're going to be in agreement that, hey, we said we're going to do this was not done, and how we're going to get it right, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the people I love is Simon Sinek. I think I always mispronounce his last name.
That's right.
That's right. I love him. And he has this thing where he says, like, there are going to be hard days in leadership where you have to deliver bad news or tell someone they weren't performing. But no one said you have to be mean when you do that, right? There's a time and place to deliver that messaging to them. So for instance, like if you are like high, you're doing your TED Talk day, you've been prepping for, you're high up on, confidence at the end of the day, there's no need for someone to come and tell you what you didn't do right yesterday and deflate and literally make you change your whole character right before you're supposed to do something big. And he's really big on, yes, you have to have accountability, but there's a way to deliver that, right? There's no script that says you have to be nasty as a leader, mean, manipulative, speak to people in a way you wouldn't want others to speak to yourself. And for me, I lead with that, right? I always tell people get leadership confused. Like it's the title. We talk to people who say, what do you do? I'm a data scientist. I have a team of 500. It's like, okay, but what do you do? Because I understand how the hierarchy needs to work in transformational leadership, where you are in service to the people at the highest point of the hierarchy. And the highest point are your people, your employees. You are at the bottom, giving them everything they need to support them and operate day to day. A lot of leaders see the other way around, where they're at the top of the pyramid and then everyone else is beneath them. And I think when you talk about accountability, we see so little of it a lot of times. I said I read the Wall Street Journal every day, and I see You just flip through it. It's a million cases where it's like that could have been avoided. Like, and you would think that they would get on the hot mic and say, we own this, we did wrong, we accept this. Instead, there's everything but that. Like, this could have happened, that could have happened. It's like people, as your customers, particularly with these big multinationals, they want to hear you say you got it wrong. You had a cyber breach yesterday that took out 10 million users' data. The platform is that we pay for. Own that. But there's just so much PR around it and polishing is like, and then that's where you start to lose people because in this day and age, particularly with technology and digitization, people want transparency, they want trust, they want accountability that you're going to do the right thing. And I think we are losing that, right? And this capitalist world we live in, it's like revenue and profit over everything else. And I think that accountability is fleeing. Like, again, case in point, Target. All that's been happening with the boycott, so on and so forth. They claim to have let the CEO go after 12 years at the helm. He's now the executive of the board. That's a higher position than the CEO of the company. We don't talk about that. The headline is he's being eliminated and someone's replacing him because of all the financial burden over the past quarter or so. But they don't tell the whole story about he's being repositioned to a higher point of power. And there was no accountability whatsoever from their internal culture to how they diminished their DEI efforts. And then externally, it's just we're letting him go. We're moving on, right? I think that lack of accountability or that desire to do that is really, really prevalent now, the world we live, particularly in the business space. So to Sai's point, I think it's hard to argue with numbers, right? It's black and white, they're quantifiers. But I think, again, as a business owner and working with other businesses, accountability should be front of mind in the relationship. You get it right, give me acknowledgement. Get it wrong, acknowledge that first. But more importantly, come back in with the solution to remedy that and to affirm your client that it's never going to happen again, right? People talk about pain points and problems. I'm a risk manager, so I have an innate solution orientation, so I need to fix things. But if something bad happens, right, I'll go back to a cyber attack. We found the bad actor, your passwords are reset. Well, no. What is the mechanism you're going to put in place to prevent that from ever happening again? We didn't want you to bad. How are you going to prevent that from happening again? I think that is a lack of accountability, right? We see for today, living from quarter to quarter. We hear that a lot in corporate America, quarter to quarter, making our goals. And it's like, well, what about the time in between that quarter things that happen? And I think that lack of accountability is like the standard, honestly, in like these big tech firms, big Wall Street organizations is like passing the buck, if you will. Shiloh, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big word you said for me was transparency. That goes a long way with accountability. And if I could, can I just alter your question slightly?
Sure.
Because the question is about like what does real accountability look like from white women in leadership? I'm going to just say what accountability can look like from white women in general in the corporate level. I think a big thing for me is acknowledging your privilege. Acknowledge the privilege that you get in those spaces and then call that out to the powers that be, because I've seen that too where they're given these special privileges that nobody else gets and then the rest of us kind of have to just sit back and so I think taking that accountability is important, but I think overall transparency is huge. The more, even when you make a mistake, the more transparent you are, the more trust you have.
Yeah.
The more trust people have in you. So.
Yeah. And I'll just say one more thing before I ask the wrap up question. But when you talk about white women in leadership, I'll say the quiet part out loud here so you all can protect yourselves. I think there's failure to acknowledge that white women have risen in the ranks simply by aligning themselves with the patriarchy establishment. They do a lot of the bidding, they do a lot of the footwork for on behalf of those white men in leadership. And so when that white man rises, they too rise with them. I'll also say that in all the civil rights advantages we've made as a people, particularly Black people, we benefit the least. So you think about when DEI was huge a few years back, these companies couldn't wait to upload their web pages to show they have a diverse board. And it's like, where's the diversity? They would say the white women. Great. Great. So I'm just being honest with you about the privilege point. They don't ever talk about that point. Like your proximity to power works in your favor. And again, that's not all women. I'm not making a blank statement. I'm just talking about my own experience and the failure to acknowledge that. So I just wanted to reiterate what you were saying, Shiloh, and give a little bit more context to that because it's not something that happened overnight. It's something that's been going on for a very long time in the U.S. in particular. But that said, they're warning me it's time to wrap it up. I want to ask this last question. You can take a few minutes to think about it, however you want to go about it. But if your career, whether that's working for someone else, whether that's working for yourself, looking back on your career and where you are now, was your career journey a warning, a celebration, or a manifesto? Side just felt like a celebration. I'm just being honest with you. Party, okay? Okay, we want to join you. I'll lead off with my. I'll lead. Just say that at this point, it was a warning. In recent months, warnings that I couldn't escape, like they had to happen. They were literally in my face, and God was doing His good work. Warning alert, like you're about to be off the ledge if you don't get it together and refocus what you need to do. But I also think more for a manifesto, because I'm not the person who says that just because I went through it, you have to go through it. I'm the person who's saying, I don't want you to go do that. So here's the playbook to avoid that. So I think it's been a bit of both. I hope to get to the point where it becomes a celebration. But I think it was more so a warning. And I think as I'm moving in my purpose more, I see there was reasoning in having those opportunities and those experiences, because they literally shaped me to ensure that what I'm bringing to market and the way I'm running my business is everything that needs to be the opposite of what I endured and wasn't, favorable for my mental health, my physical health, and so on and so forth. So
That's good. For me, it kind of was a little bit of all three, right? Like, I want to say celebration because the position I'm in is actually like, a promotion for me in terms of response. It's with a different health plan, but in terms of responsibility and pay. But I feel like the previous job was, or previous positions were that warning where it's like, you can't play it safe anymore. You got it. Like, you have to take, like I said before, if I could say anything, you have to take your professional growth into your hands, and you have to make sure those things, the way you want to move, you move that way. You don't wait for other people to do that for you. So I would say, yeah, it's a combo of maybe a warning and a celebration, but currently a celebration because I'm really loving this position I'm in, and I'm grateful for it. I'm really grateful. So
I love that for you.
thank you.
I would say it's mostly a celebration, but I would say I stay cautious in celebration because life has ebbs and flows. You can be, whether you're on a corporate ladder or you're in a business, whatever, you can be really high, you can be really low, but we're learning as we go. And that's the one thing that nothing, no matter what happens, you still have your wisdom and your experiences and all of that you have become as a result of everything that's happened. And so you can do it again more intelligently the next time, right? Because you have all of that. But I've learned to be more cautious. And I used to celebrate more. I'll put it that way. I used to celebrate more. And life has a way of showing you other people's lives and your own life and say, this is good. There's more there. And just stay right in the steady space. Celebrate and keep moving. I would say celebrate and keep giving back. Celebrate and keep moving. Celebrate and stay cautious. Celebrate and just like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not like over here like, woo, I'm like, life is great, because I know like life is life. It's good today. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, at least you celebrate, right? I think one of the biggest things I see with Black women is that we don't celebrate the wins enough. Like, we're just like, oh, we did that, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And to you, there's no duration around when you celebrate, but I think acknowledging the things that are good and that, you've made an impact, I think it's important to celebrate that. And like you said, ebbs and flows. And I'll say this, my Uncle Steve, he always says, like, you're doing good and then something bad happens. He says, it's your time. God has a calendar. It was your turn to deal with the bad, right? You collected the harvest last week. It's your turn. And while you are celebrating, be mindful, to your point, Sai, tomorrow could be a storm, but definitely celebrate what you have and understand it's going to be your turn at some point, meaning your turn to go through it. And he always says to me, when you feel like God's not listening to you, you should be, when you feel like the door is closed and won't open, you better start praying in the hallway. Praise in the hallway, because when that door opens, you better be ready. The hallway is for your posturing, not your punishment.
I love that.
Your positioning to get ready, because trust me, what's yours is yours. No one can take it from you, but you better be ready to receive it and also hold on to it. And so there is purpose in that hallway. So get up there and praise and shout and do all you can while you're there, because when the door opens, you have to be ready to go and handle it accordingly. But please know, and words of Uncle Steve, great things happen, but please know it will be your turn at some point, right? And I think your turn, and as I'm getting older and stronger in my faith, I know that your turn is literally the muscle builder. It's where you build your faith and your tenacity and your resilience so that when the highest ebb comes up again, the flow, you're ready for that.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Risky Business with Shireen podcast. I'd like to welcome you to continue along on the journey with us as we explore all things at the intersection of risk and business.